Hey everyone, OKRocks99, and welcome to the first, at the time of this video's processing and uploading, the first day of November. We've been going for a lot of these. It's been a crazy couple of months since the pandemic started, but at least we are just another month closer to the end of this year. So, by the time of this video, you kind of knew this was coming. Well, kind of. I mean, I don't know who actually sees these videos, but hey, if you made it here this far and found this video, hey, congratulations. So, here, we're going to talk about what has happened with DSP this month, and talk about the failures of why his legacy, what he puts himself on a high pedestal on, is failing, and why it's going to continue to fail if he does not actually improve, but as a locale, he'll never improve. Hey everyone, this is Roxas, and this is a small little edit here, as I hope the audio is a lot better and you can hear me. And I guess I should add a few things I forgot I mentioned. I made a mistake of saying PS4 instead of PS5. One of the games is Battlegrounds, he played, and he also had played it 20th Pro Skater 3 Remaster. That's pretty much it, so the video will continue on after this, where you hear the continuation of the last bit audio. Later, I will continue the slippery slope of non-improvement. So, let's begin. Now, I've done a DSP discussion of the events of October 4. You can find on my channel, and it goes up to the point of, at the time I finished that video, and it bound October 11th. So, we're going to talk about a lot has happened this month, or that month before. If you want a better, more professional looking kind of video, because this is just more a discussion, so you're just going to see a lot of miscellaneous clips from a lot of my gameplay that don't have a rhyme or reason or theme to, just like I want to find something to record and talk over. They were to pick some small clips to use, and this video is around 56 or so minutes long. So let's begin. Now, of course, we start from this being the aftermath of the Raidathon, which was a borathon as always. The games didn't fill, of course, due to his deceptive, his manipulating of the polls to be the game what he wanted to do, and not what his fans wanted. Which led to, of course, outside the fact that he goes back to Street Fighter V, despite the countless times he complains about that game, and he really didn't pick any games that really made him rage. It was a boring fun as always. He got his 400 shekels as always, and as always, that was just a boring event as we go into October. So of course, Phil and as usual, I have to play all of the new releases, though I think he skipped a few October releases, because it's Phil, and he will pretty much just go after the next big release, because that's all he does. So Phil, of course, he goes for Crash 4 It's About Time, and the prelude to that one was usual. We first think back to Phil playing the Crash games last couple of years ago, back when the Insane Trilogy came out, with the first Crash game, and then you get 2 and 3 later on. It was the fact that he just continued to not improve every time he plays these games. And I don't know why, I don't know how he doesn't, but it's like he talks so highly about games in the modern era, which he always referred to, yet he's still not even in the modern era himself. So of course, Crash 4 It's About Time was, still Phil failing and having about 1,000 deaths in that game. Sure, I'm not very good at Crash. I'm pretty much not even good at the first game. But that's another story for another time. But he just has not improved. So what happened? So Phil really just kind of, you'll see from the This Is How You Don't plays from both Dragon Slayer, Mitch. Those I do follow, and I hope that Crisis is going to have a lot of in pain to watch the It's About Time. This how you don't play. So what happened? Phil being Phil in that one. So of course Phil had his fourth DMCA, and crying to YouTube where he would get his usual pity bucks, his pity shekels, and then conveniently gets back on afterwards. After that, it did take him a while to finally beat 4. It's About Time. At the same time, Phil was then also still dragging out his playthrough of Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I've covered this in my last discussion video, but that I best not repeat. I think LSB will do a better job of that video when it gets there, and I will link to LSB's last month in DSP, because he did a very good job, and I give him a lot of credit for that video. So Phil finally finished that, but he dragged that game out. He didn't really, and how he was handling that game, the gameplay for it was very bad, and he really shouldn't have dragged it out. And comparing it to other games, he really was making it a boring playthrough that he should have made it shorter and it could have been finished more quicker. But because he does these streams where he does these games one time a day or one time a month, one time a week, is why these gameplays fail as they do. So honestly, next game. So honestly, Phil just kind of fails at the game he's been doing. Hold up a second. That he just kind of fails at it. And honestly, it was expected. So Phil finished it. So of course, Phil continues going after High Racing. He actually rage quitted 2 games in October, I think. The Crisis remake as well. What was the other game? Oh great! Hold on. Crisis remake, and I don't know what the other game he like rage quitted. But I will probably I'll put it as a pinned comment on what the game was. But Phil because Phil has to, this is a guy who pretty much will only go back to an old game that has a remaster or it's ported on a modern console. Because he's just a consumer, not a gamer. So I guess so of course, Phil got, trolled by Microsoft. He got trolled by Microsoft, which was hilarious. And then of course he jumped into Genshin Impact. Now, bit of backstory with Genshin Impact, as much as everybody wants to call it the anime Breath of the Wild, even though it's a Chinese-made game, and as much as everybody, even people want to make up some dumb BS stuff that really makes no sense and make me want to roll my eyes about, look, you don't know what they are planning, and also they're not gonna rip off the freaking Avatar, people. But that's beside the point. Of course, Phil was, trying to dodge that game as possible, not because waifus, as well as, him and his generalization that kids are once gambling. Because, he generalizes everyone as a child. He generalizes all the tractors, he generalizes all the trolls as children. He treats his fans like kids themselves. Which really does show how much Phil is very out of touch with people, and how much he hates people. He treats people as children. And quite honestly, that's probably the biggest sign of how much Phil hates people, and out if anyone does not or act like a mindless sheep, they don't know you're used to him. So of course Phil got to get Impact, and as always, Phil would name the Traveler himself, and he's so uncomfortable to the female, and he takes like this year has been him really very uncomfortable to women. Like, I don't know why. Like, okay, I don't want him to be sexist, but I also say, like, once he tries to say, oh, I've changed and mature, you don't change and mature in you change and mature when you become an adult. You don't change and mature because you've been your whole legacy. And just because, and like I said, no one is gonna, like, Phil has not changed. He's still a grumpy old man who's a boomer and still trying to jump on every hot trend. And again, a lot of money is going to W Champions. Speaking of W Champions, we've been dealing with the whole chargeback, which I am very sus about because it doesn't make a lot of sense. And Phil, dodging games or skipping games, like. There were some games that a lot of people were jumping into, like they were playing Among Us. People are playing a game that starts with the word phobia in it, but I can't remember what it is. That kind of game, I'm going off the top of my head, so I don't know what game that was. But Phil skipped those games because he gotta play with people and he hates people. Phil really is just kind of just slowly killing himself as both a gameplay streamer as well as a content creator, because he jumps on he needs the new games, and he's been having his usual situations with his pre-orders, which he's been having an issue, and I think he was also making a big deal of the fact that Game Inform that he actually because again he just lives on Twitter, so he gets all information off Twitter and doesn't do any research, and it's like he does because he doesn't put a lot of effort. And I'll talk about that more in length when we get there. That how much Phil does not really put a lot of effort into his own YouTube career. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. And that was much of the events of the first few days of much of the first week of October. And of course, Phil was hyping up his Halloween-a-thon, as always. This is what he does almost every year. And honestly, these events are becoming more stale, because he does a lot of these marathons all back to back almost every couple of months, and he does these every so often that they're starting to become more stale. And how he has so much control, because he has so much control to them, it's how much they're becoming a lot more stale and not anyone really wants them. Quite honestly, how much he kept on doing the retrospectives, and how much that he continued to milk the best streak until it failed on him. So, Phil having that kind of control to the best streak and everything else, and everything else that's going on, really shows how much he really is just, failing at being a content creator, and he continues to, talk the big shit about other people as always. He even went on like, oh, because he's playing these horror games because he's not scared of them. Like, he actually, he compares, Friday the Freddy to Bugs Bunny, which is stupid. So, Genshin Impact was an interesting thing. Phil, again, apparently having such good luck of getting pulled, and he actually calls them pulls. Wonder why he calls it that? Because he's gambling in WWE Champions. And he is so bothered by anime waifus. Like, he takes this whole thing. I had a conversation with my friend on Facebook. The issue is more so, and I guess I'll be honest here, when it comes to waifu culture, a lot of it can be summed up as young males who obviously are virgins, who can't get a real girlfriend, and they have to find love with fictional characters online. You see that a lot with many communities like Kingdom Hearts, Persona, Sword Art Online, Pokemon, Digimon, Naruto, because really they find solace in their husbandos and waifus, and at the end of the day don't take it seriously, but at the same time they actually do sometimes. They will be on a literal, they will ride the horse of how obsessed they are and biased they are. I have a good example, bit to the SEO community. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody who makes it really clear that they probably care about is Leafa. They're biased to Leafa, and they will hate the fact that she gets hurt or everything else. And they will defend the fact that she's in an incestuous relationship with Kirito. The very thing that people will never stop bringing up, despite the fairy deaths are being old. And that's the thing. He takes the whole waifu culture so seriously. And I would say some people do take it seriously because they're obviously lonely virgins who don't have a relationship. And I don't want to generalize people as virgins. I'm sure you get laid. Well, you know, ones who don't think that losing your virginity is like the greatest thing ever. Yeah, the greatest thing ever. By the way, you ever heard of STDs? Well, that's where you have so much sex. But that's a whole nother, kettle of fish. But Phil takes the whole waifu culture so seriously. I don't know why. Is he somebody the fact that he treats it as a culture, he kind of like, he's so offended by it. And that's the thing, that he's so comfortable to it. One of the more recent playthroughs he was doing was we see him actually covering his eyes to a breastfeeding scene. And here he's trying to ban waifu, stuff like that. He takes this stuff so seriously. He's so offended by it. It's like, at this point, if you really are a mature adult when it comes to your relationship with Kat, don't take the whole thing seriously. It's just, don't take it so seriously. And I think the issue, he takes it so seriously, and it really shows how much this bothers him. And it really shows he's not changed, because he should just, brush it all aside and not let it take himself seriously. Phil is literally living in the sense of that he takes this all literally, and now it's really eating at him every day. So far, we're seeing that eat at him. And honestly, Phil is just showing how much the fact that he was skip games because of this whole thing is why he is a failure at what he's doing. And really, he is just living he's just a man that is just dragging this whole thing out about waifus and him playing so much about it. Like, he takes this so seriously. At the end of the day, don't take the waifu culture so seriously. Half the time it is just sad virgins who really don't have, or just sad virgins, as much as I don't want to generalize it, who need to actually not take it so seriously. They need to not take the whole thing seriously, and understand these are fictional characters. Stop with this weird obsession. You're giving people reasons why they don't like anime. The fact that Christorians don't like the idea that Chris is into quote-unquote weeb shit is not helping us. So, really, he is just kind of... he takes this whole thing, like, seriously, and he takes this whole thing so serious that it really does show how much this bothers Phil. And honestly, why can't he just say it bothers him? Because he's too prideful about it. He does not want to admit the fact that he takes the whole waifu culture seriously, and he kind of does take it seriously. And it does show it. So, it really has shown, and they're not much, like I said, they were really, it's hard to think of other games he was playing at the time. I don't watch a lot of I try to follow a lot of like the what's going on, but he has his usual rants and about other people and stuff like that. It really does show how much Phil is just bothered by and really takes everything so seriously and lives on Twitter. I say it's best he lives on Twitter and he won't not stop living on Twitter. Because honestly, he takes what he finds on Twitter and regurgitates it. And more recently, he will take a death and make it all about himself. Because he takes anyone who is fortunate and makes it about himself. Because Phil does no caring in the world but other people. Because that's something that's best summed up Phil. He doesn't care for others but himself. And then of course, he hates the idea that he hates influencers because they get all the free stuff and he doesn't. Well, what do you expect? You are a locale and nobody wants to promote you. Nobody wants to, ever want to do anything with you because you don't give a good message to the industry. You're a laughingstock for a reason because nobody wants to deal with you. And quite honestly, no one would. Sorry. As much as Super Blind Man, of course, Super Blind Man blocking my ID because my ID actually tried to tell me, hey, you don't need Phil. How he treats you like that? Just because you got free PS, we may have joked at you because you have free PS5 because hey, you were part of the industry to help. Hey, visually impaired, accessibility for visually impaired payers, which I like that kind of thing. Yeah, it was involving something that is very controversial and that everyone milked to high heaven. Especially if you're one person who just used it all the whole YouTube, not YouTube, but he used the whole. He used it. He didn't just start them. He just got more egotistical with the fact that he had a lot of views. And quite honestly, he was a complete asshole and really not a good person. And quite honestly, I don't think anyone likes him anymore. I think he's probably treated as up there as someone who was already like a good person, and that's sad. If you want to know who it is, you can probably go to my Twitter and I'll give you a little bit of idea who he is. Like I said, he blocked me anyway, so I'm like, yeah, you're just an asshole who just only cares just because you got a lot of views does not mean to act like a complete and total jackass about it. Which is sad. This is what YouTubers have become, or what a lot of people have become. But that's besides the point. We come to a bit more closer. We still got Phil still complain about chargebacks. He won't obviously getting his PS4 until it's time for launch for the pre-order to start. And Phil being just Phil finally of course Phil did finish. Phil finished Mario Galaxy after he was complaining about that game because of the controls. He was complaining about that game, and he finally finished that game. And now it's pretty close to he's going to be dropping. I think it's possible he's going to probably drop Genshin Impact because it's not going to be able to be in the rotation of the hardcore gaming season of him playing 12 games. Him playing 12 games on board PS4. Yeah, let that sink in. So So I think I guess it's time we come to the Halloween fun. And oh boy, it was a letdown. It was a disaster. This was probably this really started to show how much these events are starting to become stale and repetitive and not working anymore. So let's see the games. Now, Phil really did not pick any games that were horror-esque. At least it said, even when people gave him good suggestions, he didn't do them all. Well, we'll get to that later, but I'll talk about that one. And it really just shows how much low effort Phil puts into this. So, first off, his costume looked last minute. It was Jennifer Sanders, and it really does show he really thinks that, oh, Colonel Sanders is a pop culture icon. No, it's not. He's not. And you just all you really did was say boy all the time. It really does show you really don't know anything. So, and then the games he played, it was he milked it going using Little Hope and finished that playthrough, and also during the whole fun. He played it Team Fortress 2, he did DSP Tries It, and then he did Down Crisis. Down Crisis he just went back to an old game. Team Fortress was like 30 minutes. DSP Tries It was a waste of time, felt like a waste of time. And he milked it views to get finished Little Hope. It was a letdown, it was a complete total letdown, and a failure. He is a Switch costume, but also low effort. It really does show that despite all the people wouldn't pick up actual real games or other games because he wouldn't want to spend any money. It really does show that this is really how much Phil's content is becoming more stale and repetitive, and that because he's not putting any real effort into his content, this is just a slow but sure way of why he is a failure than when he thinks he's a success. He will pride himself on having a long legacy. He will rant still about waifus and peace and having issues because he thinks he wants consistency in consoles, but he doesn't even update his own because he can't update his stuff. And even when he gets the PS5, he's gonna complain that it's not, it's not working for him because he's not going to do a good job of actually updating it. So really, this month has really just showed not only how much offended Phil is to other people, the fact that he's still offended to waifu culture, the fact that he is, at the end of the day, living the sense that he is just continuing these repetitive marathons. He is failing more and more of being a content creator. And quite honestly, this is what really is killing Phil more. Not just the fact that the neighborhood people who keep continuing to give him money, but the fact that he's not doing anything to improve himself. He thinks he's going to continue using Twitch until Twitch does something that makes him want to leave it. And he won't leave Twitch. He won't go back to YouTube. He's not going to go back. He's going to continue to ride this the rest of his life because he still thinks this is a real job. Phil is failing, and he does not see that he is failing. And this is where we kind of come into the next topic, this next conversation, which is why Phil's legacy is failing from that. So I will come back at the 35-minute mark, and we'll talk about the failure of DSP's video. So we're gonna take a small little break, so just enjoy my failures of Fall Guys and whatever I have on this clip, because like I said, I picked some random clips to talk over that don't have any rhyme or reason to them. Just be random, and I will list out each game after it's up. So I'll see you in a bit. A little bit of extra note to bring in this one is the aftermath of the Halloween Fawn is that DSP fans really have showed that they didn't really enjoy a lot of what they were given. It's safe to say that while Phil treats the idea that these are his trolls saying this, like, oh, these are all people who have many stock counts, a lot of these people who are saying this are his fans and are honestly saying how they've been feeling. And it's really starting to show that Phil is failing, because now it's starting to really start to see the prognosis is starting to wear off a little bit, but not as much. And they're probably wondering, this feels like, are you putting this in between some empty spaces and clearing of stuff? Yes. But that's beside the point. Just adding a few things that had happened post the Halloween Fawn. And 100% I don't know what the costume was, the second costume, but it looks like it was from Resident Evil or Dino Crisis. Or the fact that Phil was playing around with a toy gun. He says he's not sure it's entertainer, but he does this crap. And the fact that he thinks that Colonel Sanders is pop culture, he probably takes the whole idea of the whole KFC memes. That's not pop culture, that's just a meme. That's just meme culture being meme culture. That's what probably a lot of people, when they think of Colonel Sanders, they think of, like, you know, the memes surrounding KFC. And, you know, considering Phil is always probably, he eats a lot of fast food, that kind of comes to mind. So another thing to add that I probably forgot in the original video is I did mention in the first edit that I mentioned PS4 instead of PS5. Another thing that I think happened is, you know, Phil is still on, as I mentioned before, the waifu stuff and the whole breastfeeding stuff. It's safe to say that Phil is still complaining about things. It's safe to say that he might not get he won't get the PS4 day one. I think it's safe to say he won't get it day one. And I think a lot of us know for sure he won't get it day one. But I think another thing that I've probably forgotten in the first edit of this video was how many games he skipped this year. I will probably do like last year. I made a list of all the games Phil skipped in 2019, and he skipped it a big number. Surprisingly, a game that I think that would actually be good. But since he always, you know, he relies so much on the releases, he skipped a lot of games. Yeah, sure, there were some games he obviously would never play, like Alicization Licorice, Fairy Tail, the Atelier series. Of course, we'll never play Atelier series. Anything to do with girls, he covers his eyes about. So, last bit of what to say about this in this edit, that's going to slice between the dull blank parts that I had to put dead air, is we are going to see how Phil is going to beg on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Both these days are going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen, and quite honestly, I can't wait. But like I said before, which I do say in the later discussion, Phil is becoming more stale and stagnant. And this stale and stagnation is going to kill him more and more. If he does not improve his gameplay, he doesn't improve everything, he's going to fall out of the legacy he tries to say he has. Quite honestly, his legacy is literally just begging. And quite honestly, I think it's safe to say this is going to end badly for him. But as a locale, he is going to continue to fail until he doesn't realize it. That's really it in this edit. I had to fix a bit of the audio, so you don't hear the game audio anymore, so you hear me more clearly. And I hope this works. If not, I might have to scrap this video and do it again for a third time. Or wait until not do commentary until I get a better microphone. And we're back. So this part is going to be talking about the failure of DSP's channel and kind of why it is failing now. So, for anyone who's kind of kept up with DSP for this long, you can pretty much say that Phil's legacy is mostly just existing of being an e-beggar. Because Phil really has nothing left to really do than just beg for money. And that's the first thing, is how much Phil is just an e-beggar. Phil won't get a real job because, obviously he still feels wronged for the helicopter company that fired him many years ago, that he still brings up every single day. I don't know why he does it, but it really does show how much he feels wronged for that they fired him. And that's the first thing, is how much he begs. There are a lot of people who do make their money on YouTube, although I don't agree with a lot of it. And I would say sometimes people do deserve being... Some people deserve sometimes being, unmonetized or having issue with monetization because you're just being monetized off other people's content and not your own. You're not doing anything that is you. You're mostly just riding the coattails off other people's content, because other people's content topic, because, well, you feel you have to be I'm a content. I have to play all the new games. And we'll get to Phil's biggest issue is his trying to play all the new games. But let's go into the many reasons why Phil's content is failing. So let's begin the first thing. Number 1. Phil doesn't update his equipment much, and it always seems like there's something wrong with it. Now, you think that someone who has, obviously been a content creator for, as much as he keeps saying, 12 years now, you think that he would have an updated laptop, an updated computer, an updated TV. He does. He scabbed money to get that TV, and you think that he would make sure to have all his peripherals on board. The thing is, Phil also took about very long to get to. He took to like 2013 to finally to go to direct capture. By that time, he was already, he was behind the times. When he finally went back to Twitch, at that time people were already become successful. And honestly, Phil's actual numbers of actual people, if he doesn't ban everybody, is about 300. And it's going to continue to keep dropping the more he continues to ban people and more he just disagrees with them. So that's one of the big reasons why Phil's content is failing, because of how he always, behind the times, or he does not update his equipment, and he makes a big deal about it. Number 2, Phil playing every single new release. Now, like I said, for someone who says he doesn't have money to do things, it seems like he always keeps trying to do every new release or skip some, and he will make a lot of excuses on why he skips a game. And one of the biggest things I could say is that Phil relies way too much on the new releases, that it really does show that how much he's just a consumer of the new game. Because that's the way he thinks that everybody wants to come see the new game, see him play new games. That's the thing. They're here for the new game, they're here for him. But because he's so boring, he really just makes the games look boring. Because he relies so heavily on the new games. And the one thing is how much Phil keeps calling himself a variety streamer. No, he plays the same 7 games every week, and then he will rotate that game out for a new game, or will drop a game because it's not giving him enough views, or will complain about low night. But we'll get to that too as well. The fact that, let's put this, Phil has no enjoyment of any type of genre, and yet he tries to call himself the King of Retro, and even King of Retro complains. He complains so much about games not having checkpoints, or games not having these function or that function. He is so much wants games to handhold him, because that's what he wants. He wants games to hold his hand, and he expects a chat to hold his hand. Another big example of Phil's failure is the fact that he is always, that he really much of his, as how dull and boring his streams are. Back then, Phil would pretty much just chop all his gameplay into 10-minute videos and will literally flood people's YouTube sub boxes with all these spam, because he is really just spamming videos and hoping to get a lot of traction on them. And quite honestly, it's not working really, because it is just some people aren't fans of this model that Phil does. So Phil, he tries to do this whole, oh, I have to, like I said, he tries to be able to play new games, and the fact that he makes the streams so boring, and like I said, he takes so long to beat games. A lot of games he would have gotten beaten, and like most of the games that he came out day 1 should have been finished by day 10 or so, because he does these games all on stream. But he doesn't finish a lot of games. Some games take almost all, and he always tries to finish games, or he tries to go on overtime, or quote unquote overtime, because he wants to finish them. And Phil really just doesn't understand how to be a content creator. That it really does show that he is very much still in the mindset that people want all this. He feels that people want him to play all the new games, and he feels like he has to do it. And obviously he just hates himself for this. He hates video games, and it really shows he hates video games. And that he will just continue to do this because it's an easy job for him. And that's all that is. Fine if you want to make this your job, but this should be a hobby. And Phil wants to talk about other streamers, but people usually do YouTube and they stream mostly as a hobby. No one takes this as a serious job. They also have other incomes and and places to make yourself money. The fact that Phil feels he has to, every time he makes any money, he takes it out very quickly and then will spend it on WWE Champion. Yet every day he's begging for money, or he's mad about chargeback, but we haven't got proof about yet. So another example, and we'll go to another example, is the fact that Phil really does not put any effort into his videos. I don't have a way to make thumbnails, and I would love to make videos longer than 59 minutes. But that's something that I have to do at my own time right now. And once I move and I start getting a little bit more money, I'm going to get myself I'm going to buy a Elgato. I am going to buy an Elgato. I'm going to have a setup, like 2 monitors. I have my future monitor, which I'm going to use for like streaming. For streaming, it sits in my living room. It's technically my TV. It's technically my TV now, but that's something I want to do in the future. He's been doing this for probably a long time, but he's not still putting out effort into it. So he is, and I think I have to remember what I'm saying. Because this is what he's put. He has a very bland title. Because I don't know why he can't spell part. His thumbnails, take it or leave it, I guess. But just a giant number, the giant number, some art, the art from the game, and him not very good titles. Like usually it just doesn't give you, and he doesn't give you a description of what happens in the video. It's just, this is my gameplay of this game. Please read to tip me. That's all that matters. It's not what the game's about. It's all about him. It has to always be about him. And that's kind of one thing to put it, is how much he just, all it matters is how much, where you tip him. Another thing that's really why he is failing is how much how he milks his events that he tries to make for money. He does these marathons. He does these goals that no and the fans don't get anything. He does things like this. He dragged out DSP. He started to have really no effort when DSP tries it. Because again, this guy expects food to be like healthy for him or something like that, but yeah, he complains about it. He does his bi-monthly Ask the King, or basically just the same people, the same question he drags out for like one or two videos, or maybe 3. He does these Halloween events, these holiday events that also are boring and become more stale. These raid-a-thons he does every year are starting to become more stale because he has control of it. And then we come to another big thing, is his viewer's choice. Ever since he starts doing viewer's choice, which started as Patron's choice, he somehow has a lot of control over it. And because, he won't play the game, or will pick an executive decision on the game that's picked. And this usually makes a game that is usually just cause more rage or more issues with it. For example, the mini games that were picked that were viewer's choice, hold on for a second, were as followed: Danganronpa 1 and 2, Persona 3 and 4, Yakuza, Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Fire Emblem Three Houses, and Future Divinity Sin. It's going to be another game that's going to be on that coming soon. And really, these viewer choice are killing him more because these decisions, and really bring out the most rage and salt that come out of him because he controls them. These events are becoming more stale and unexpected, and that's how much low effort these start to become. Really, it's just more how much Phil is just becoming more lazy, and more because of how lazy he's becoming. It took him, all he really did was set up, quote unquote, was take a chair. He doesn't even like that chair. There's still no green screen, and really, when he decorates his office, it's all just the same. Decorate his office, his birthday, Halloween, Christmas. It's all gotta be in his office. He probably doesn't decorate the house. He probably doesn't even decorate anything. It's all the way about him. And this is really killing his channel. Because Phil is not a good channel. He spends all this time these rants on Twitter and being baited for questions. He doesn't really do any research on the outside world. He ranted about the fact that the Christmas music was playing early because he acts like the world is not moving forward because of the pandemic. Because he doesn't leave the house. He leaves the house one day. And he says he and Kat spend time together. I don't believe it. And he still will bring up Kat. He will not bring up Kat. He will always refer to Kat as my wife. We barely hear her name. All we hear about is the food and when they go out. There really is nothing left about what makes Phil a content creator. He is a old man who is still trying to cling on to the fact that he had some credibility back then. He is failing, and he's going to continue to fail. And honestly, he is not going to keep going. He's not going to last another year. At some point, he is going to literally hit the rock bottom hard, and it's going to hit him hard soon. And we don't know what Miss First Bank is up to yet, but Phil is just, at this point, failing at being a content creator, and he is going to keep this up for the rest of his life. And he looks like he's miserable. He hates this job. He hates this. He looks alarmed. He is a boomer. He is old man. He is not improving his content. He won't improve his content because he won't do any real effort. He is going to keep failing at it. And I think the biggest example, and I think the biggest thing to take into all of this is how much he will not stop relying on, and how much he flip-flops his hate for Nintendo or his hate for Microsoft, And a lot of people hate Sony because everyone hates on Sony because it's like the new hotness. Because everyone hates on Sony for everything. Censorship, they can be doing about censor anime. Oh, because you could hate them because of some decisions they made for the PS5, which they're trying to fix. Oh, you're gonna be mad at them because The Last of Us Part 2, which everyone milks reviews. Oh, you're gonna think they're gonna censor anime? That's all people do. That's all people have to really do now, and that's kind of sad. Phil is going to botch his unboxing, where everyone has great unboxings already. He's not gonna get any real coverage to it because everyone's already been covering. Everyone was covering the PS5 unboxing minus day -1. And they have already done it. Like, people have already covered it. You can find videos about it. He is a boomer. He is slow. And he's gonna take what's supposed to be a 10-minute, maybe unboxing of the video, maybe like a short video, depending on just getting to the point, and will milk that thing to be an hour. And he's gonna try to cover 12 games. Yeah, he said he's always broke. He makes all this money and says he's broke. What is left? Phil is really need to think on what he's going to do. He is failing. He is not going to last long, and it's going to keep on going. This is why he is failing at his own business. He says he does these rants, he does all this, and he continues to pick fights. He doesn't collab with other people. He doesn't look into other people's content or what they want to do. He is a failure. He is going to continue to be a failure. And that is what his legacy is going to be. I made a video about his failure legacy before, back last year, and this is my second time. And this is why I feel he is not going to improve any further. He is failing. His Halloween font was a complete failure, and it really does show that this was just another failure at the time. This is why he will not improve his content. And this is why he won't do anything to better himself. He's going to continue to make himself more and more of falling into the obscurity that is the other people. While everybody is going to are still, they've all improved, he's still the day one streamer who doesn't improve anything. He's going to continue to fail at his job, and he's going to keep this up for the rest of his life. And for what? Is this what he's going to do? He can't keep this whole job up for the rest of his life, and honestly, this is really, I think, last thing I can say about this, as we try to wrap this video up, is what's going to happen in November and December, who knows. Phil brought up, I think, Tevin again, and honestly, it's safe to say that Phil is just going to probably beg on Thanksgiving. The Christmas celebration is going to be very boring as always. This is going to be a very, 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 very interesting month as we go into this month. And while I probably won't be doing much shopping, I don't know what Phil's really going to do. He probably isn't going to do really shopping for his own wife. He's now been married to for like a year now, for almost a year now. So who knows? And with that, I guess there's really nothing but to say. Aside from, I probably will do a small update video about what I'm up to this month. I am going to be uploading Final Fantasy VII Remake this November. I'm going to be working on Melody of Memory. It's going to be the only new game I'm playing right now of 2020 I bought, because I'm saving up money for now. So that's kind of it. This was a very long video. I talked very long and really I rambled on, but I think I covered much of November, and I talked about a lot of why Phil's channel and why a lot of it is failing. So, I guess, there's all I'm left to say is, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, comment, subscribe, and, hey, it really helps. I really want to grow my channel. Next year, I really want to do more streaming. I want to improve my channel more and more. I want to do more games. I really am working hard to grow further, and I really want to keep trying. Right now, I got these spam comments, but I just ignore them. But I'll do what I can. I do this as a hobby because I like gaming, I like talking about Phil, and I like talking about stuff. I'm not doing this for fame, I'm not doing this for attention, I'm not doing this for anything. My dislike for those kind of people can be really summed up how I feel about it on Twitter. So, with that, I guess the only thing I have to say is, and I guess one last thing to say is, thank you, and this is me, OPRocks99, sign off, and I'll see you next time for the next video and next update on new content of new videos, which will be Final Fantasy Remake, Trials of Cold Steel, Kingdom Hearts Millennium Memories, Vampire, which has now started with its first part, and that's kind of it. There's other new games I'm working on. I'm still working on the Road to Millennium Memories, and a lot of stuff we're going to cover. So, I hope it planned, and I might even do something for when I finally hit 300 videos. So, take care and have a nice morning, afternoon, or day. Later!